Hello and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name's Colette and I'm here today to do the reading for the full moon that's just taken place in Aquarius. This is the astrology part of the full moon reading that I do. I've already done the tarot reading, so I'm following it on with the intuitive guided understanding of what's happening at the time of this full moon in Aquarius, which will last from now until 2 weeks time, which I believe is the 8th of August, when we get the new moon in Leo. And so this is the, as we're saying, this is the Aquarius full moon, and it's the first of 2 Aquarian full moons, because we have another one that is taking place at 29 degrees of Aquarius as well. So there's a lot of Aquarian energy that is coming in at this time, and I'm calling this reading today, I'm calling it Shifting the Vibration. But before I start, I will actually remember to show you the cards which go along with this reading. We have the Aquarius full moon energy of Show the World the Real You. Aquarius energy is all about the integrity, the uniqueness, the individualism. Although it's also about the collective, it's about being an individual within the collective. So being yourself, being true to who you are, is really what the full moon in Aquarius energy is asking from us. And of course we have the full moon energy, which itself is about surrendering to the divine, about letting go, because the full moon energy is always about a completion, a culmination of something, releasing, letting go what we've been carrying, what we've been holding on to. But then we also have, because it is a fixed moon as well, we also have hold your vision. So it's saying don't give up on your dream or your desire, your wishes at this time. Hold your vision, keep true to yourself, again really is what it's saying. Stay true to who you are. So that being said, let's get into the actual astrology read itself. So this full moon is taking place on the 24th of July at 03:37 hours UK time, at 01 degrees 26 minutes in the fixed sign of Aquarius, the water bearer, who is actually ruled by the element of air. And in the opposite sign of Leo, we find the sun at the exact same degree, having just left the sign of Cancer, while the moon has just moved into Capricorn. Has just moved on from Capricorn. And so the moon at this time is forming what are known as out of sign conjunctions, because the moon is still connecting with the energy of Pluto at this time, but Pluto of course is still in Capricorn. So she is now and also on the other side we also have in Aquarius at this time we have Saturn as well, but I will talk about that in a bit. So if you have any planets or points between the 06 degrees of Aquarius going back to the 26 degree mark of Capricorn, which is going to include that energy of Pluto as well, and the same for Leo and Cancer as well. If you've got any points or planets at the same degrees of Leo and Cancer, 6 degrees to 26, this full moon is going to be a powerful experience, mostly because of that connection with Pluto as well. So you may want to check out your own personal chart to see which house or houses this falls in for you on a personal level. For the collective, it's going to take place in the 11th house, the Aquarius 11th house. But for your own individual chart, if you're interested in finding out more, there will be a link in the description box down below for you to go and check that out, so you can see which house it may be falling in for you. So one of the ways we will all feel the power of this full moon is through its conjunction to Pluto at 25 degrees 24 minutes, and it is retrograde, as well as its conjunction to Saturn at 10 degrees 51 or 11 degrees, but it is retrograde, so. Which means the moon is in between these two maleficent planets that only work through adversity and are hard task masters, through which we can never escape their ultimate lessons. And this energy is bringing back echoes of the major conjunction that took place in January 2020, the one that I have been, if you've been watching any of my astrology videos for a while now, I have been talking about that conjunction since it took place, because I still think that it's having, well, it is still having long-term effect on all of us. The whole world is being affected by that conjunction. But at this time, because the moon is in between Saturn on one side and Pluto on the other, she's acting like a bridge. And so the moon represents the people. It's the energy of the soul, the feelings, the emotions. And so bridging that gap is like bringing back that energy as an echoing, ongoing force of collapse. Basically, it's like the reverberating vibrational echo is still out there, and this is kind of reactivating it at this time. So we're going to see an acceleration again of that kind of energy of things kind of really rapidly falling apart at this time, or what will seem to be rapidly falling apart, and what will seem to be very chaotic and very adverse. But within that adversity there is always new energy. So yeah, between the established Capricorn energy of Saturn that Pluto is slowly breaking down and transforming into the new, as yet unexperienced Aquarius energy, which Saturn is also helping to construct as well, because Saturn being in Aquarius is helping us to kind of rebuild in the Aquarian energy. So as everything kind of falls apart to do with the Capricorn establishment energy, governments, all that kind of well ingrained history, shall we say, the Saturn energy in Aquarius is bringing that Aquarian energy into our reality. And I find it really interesting that the kind of main term that has been put out there by a lot of kind of governments and globalists and whatever you want to call them, that term that you heard for quite some time of build back better, is kind of that Saturn in Aquarius energy of building something back. So that is interesting that that is there in the psyche. But that doesn't necessarily mean that these people who are saying it are going to be the people who are actually involved in it, not if Pluto's got anything to do with it. So we also have at this time Saturn being squared still by Uranus. So Uranus is at 14 degrees 29 minutes in Taurus, and it's the only remaining planet, outer planet, that has not turned retrograde yet. It will do so, I think it's about the middle of August that Uranus is going to turn retrograde, but at the moment Uranus is more kind of powerful energy that is out there, and you can see that at this time as well, because Uranus is demanding change, it's demanding freedom and liberation, and we are literally seeing that all around the world. We, the people, are awakening to a higher level of understanding of who we are and our connection to a higher consciousness, sorry, voice went a bit weird then, of intelligence, or as I prefer to call it, the source of unified love. Saturn, through his adverse and restrictive energy, is also, ironically, forcing us to fight back against those controlling forces, which is helping us to ground this higher consciousness into our new reality. So the more restrictions that Saturn is trying to place on us, the more the Uranus energy is forcing us to stand up and not just give in to that energy. Uranus is the maverick. It is the rebellious energy that's demanding change, huge change at this time in Taurus. So the full moon is about bringing something to completion, a culmination. And in the 11th house, the energy of Aquarius, it is connected with our collective process and looking into a shared future. When the moon is full, we are a lot more outward looking and emotionally expressive. In Aquarius, this will be seen in our friendships, our social networks, groups we are involved with. We may, during this period, see the manifestation of new innovative ideas, flashes of inspiration involving our higher dreams and aspirations. It could also come through as humanitarian ideals and the concept of one conscious awareness, or our awareness becoming self-conscious. Another very interesting thing as well about this full moon is that it is in a fixed sign, Aquarius. Saturn is also in that same fixed sign energy, and Uranus, of course, in Taurus is also in a fixed sign energy. So they are still really butting heads, but this full moon is kind of bringing in more of an awareness on an emotional level of really wanting that change, of really wanting to, like, it's a stubborn energy. It's stubborn. It's like, this is what we want. We know what we want and we know what we don't want. And we're again seeing a lot of that around at this time. So it could also come through as humanitarian ideals, because that again is a very Uranus Aquarius energy. An understanding of how the many parts create the whole is another very Aquarius energy or vibration. And the individual uniqueness within the collective. But there is also a warning there as well, because Aquarius is also the idea of the hive-like mind, where everyone works together for the greater good, which is great. But as we move into this Aquarian era, we are all creating for ourselves at this time. There is within this situation, we all need to be very careful that we don't literally fall lockstep into this new idea, this new future, that everybody has to think the same, that everybody has to go along with that one idea, which is that hive mind. Because Aquarius really wants us to be ourselves. It wants us to be individual within that hive-like mind energy, working like collectively, knowing that we are working collectively for the greater good, but doing it from a sense of our own individual uniqueness, of what we can bring into that, rather than just being told, you know, just becoming part of the machine, if you like, just another cog within that machine, and not being of any value, just being there for the machine's sake. So that's really what the Uranus energy in many ways is trying to stop from happening, because that is, because with Saturn in Aquarius, that in some ways is the overdriving energy at this time, this kind of idea of, like, you know, we are just all almost like robotic, like, you know, to be kind of told to do this and we all go off and do it, or it's kind of breaking out of that idea that we all need to be the same, act the same, think the same, want the same things. That's not what this Aquarian energy is about. So we are going to need to remember we are all individuals with very different life lessons and experiences, and it's that individualism and uniqueness that creates the collective. We could also hear and see a lot more information around the topic of quantum reality, multi-dimensional beings and universes could also become a hot topic, and of course the space race in general, which we are also seeing happening at this time. So another connection the moon is making, apart from opposing the sun, is an uncomfortable, awkward feeling, quincunx with Venus at 2 degrees 30. So a quincunx is a feeling of something that doesn't kind of sit right, it just feels a bit odd, a bit off. And in the earth sign of Virgo, we may be like questioning a certain health regime as well, because Virgo is very much about our body, our health, healthy body, healthy mind. It's also the sign of service to others as well, but we may be questioning this health regime, as I prefer to call it, that is causing people to behave with a hive-like mind of obedience as well. So because Virgo is that sign of service to others, there's also that question of am I doing the right thing for myself? And if I'm doing it for myself with that hive-like mind, it's like, how is it going to affect everybody else? And that's kind of the feedback that is being given. It's like, you know, if you don't do this, then everybody else is going to be affected by it. And that is that hive mind way of thinking at this time. Sorry, my ear is really itchy. So being ruled by Mercury, Virgo is also able to use its refined drive for perfection to analyse things in a deeply scrutinising fashion. And this particular issue, however, could also have us feeling that we don't have the right to question ourselves on this particular subject, as it involves so many other people who could also be affected by the choice that we make on a personal level based off of our own value system and how we see things in the world. So the idea of a healthy body, healthy mind also fits in with the idea of us being in a less stressful environment again, which in itself will have a knock-on effect with our immune systems. So it talks to me about steering clear of those things that are going to make us more stressed out. If we can't handle the information, if it makes us fearful, if it makes us stressed, if it makes us more worried, which Virgo is the worrier of the zodiac, and because she's over analytical and has all those kind of mental attributes, it can become very detrimental for our own health. We can literally worry ourselves into illness or sickness, or allow ourselves to become so depleted by that stress and that worry that we do kind of make ourselves, as I was saying, make ourselves ill, make ourselves sick, open ourselves up to lowering our immune system so that we can catch things a lot easier as well, shall we say. So this energy can also kind of leave us spinning in circles, kind of wrapped up in that kind of not knowing what to do, what's for the best. And also, interestingly, it was around the time of the full moon in Virgo in March of 2020 that the world was put into lockdown, because Virgo is also known for its kind of fastidious need for cleanliness and dislikes all things that are perceived as dirty or unclean. It's known as a very kind of fussy, particular sign. So Venus in Virgo is going to want to kind of be clearing things up and bringing things to completion, kind of finding solutions to problems, that kind of energy. But as I've said previously, Black Moon Lilith passing over Neptune in 2019 was the cause of this health scare, but Pluto conjunct Saturn has been the long time effect of it. And of course this is kind of what we're getting that echo of at this time as well. So we're going to hear, I feel, a lot about this. There's going to be like a new push, shall we say, for this whole health regime to be kind of everywhere. So the sun, meanwhile, at this time is shining its light on this full moon from the fixed, fiery, passionate house of pleasure and creativity. Leo, he's home, so he's just moved into Leo. The sun is ruled by Leo, so he's feeling strong, he's feeling vital, he's got strength and power and successful. And he entered Leo on the 22nd. There's an energy of Leo of kind of a determination. Again, it's a fire sign, so it's dynamic, but there is this kind of self-belief with Leo as well, that we can do what we set out to do, that it is possible to achieve what we want to achieve. And at the time of this full moon, he is still making, or more or less, the same connections that he was making previously during the time of the Cancer new moon. So only now he's no longer connecting with Uranus, so the sun isn't connecting with that revolutionary energy, although he has been for a while, so that's kind of really fired things up. He is, however, still opposing Pluto, which is retrograde, which was exact on the 7th of July at 25 degrees 33. So that exact energy happened at that time on the 17th of July, while Pluto was also square to Eris at 24 degrees 47, which is the degree Eris has now stationed retrograde at on the 21st of July. So Eris, again, as I talked about in the Cancer new moon astrology that I did, Eris has been slowing right down in the sky for quite some time now, and Eris is that kind of female feisty version of Uranus. So she also wants change, and she also wants truth. She also wants to be recognized for who she is, that female warrior-esque energy. She's in Aries, so she's very fired up at this time. And because she's been barely moving in the sky for so long, and because she kind of stationed as well on the 21st, that whole energy of her, again, chaos, disruption, discord, strife, all that energy was really magnified. Her disruptive, radical, rebellious, strife creating, warrioress energy, wanting change, demanding change, which coming from the sign of Aries is very determined. Again, it's that warrior energy. It's like the warrioress and the warrior energy working together. They are brother and sister. Mars and Eris are brother and sister in Greek mythology. So they worked together. They were always in battle together. And she's very determined. She's driving feisty force, and she's going to stand up against all things authoritarian and demand grassroots changes. And she has been square to Pluto for a long time now. Pluto in Capricorn, of course, which is all about the establishment, etc. And so that's adding to everything that we're seeing at this time, and everything is coming back around again. It's like I spoke also last time in my Cancer new moon reading about how everything kind of stopped. 47 countries were all out there protesting, and everything came to a grinding halt when the health scare took place, and everybody was kind of pushed back into their homes, and nobody could actually finish that energy. It was like it wasn't the right time. Things weren't quite ready for it to happen. And so now it's like, now we're coming back out again. Now we've got something even more important to fight against and to stand up against this establishment against. And so for me, this is also shifting the power of that pyramidal structure that we've lived under for centuries, from those at the top to those at the bottom. The power of the people creating an inverted pyramid, as we take back what is already our divine rights through our birth to have, as no one can own the earth. We simply, as all indigenous tribes understood, are here as stewards for the short time we exist. And I feel that that's kind of one of the big issues and one of the big questions that's going to kind of come up more and more, especially as we have Pluto squaring Eris opposing Haumea, who is the Hawaiian creative goddess energy, and is in Libra. So she's wanting fairness, she's wanting justice, she's wanting balance, she's wanting things to be put right. And also in Cancer, we've had the Sun that has been opposing Pluto. So we have actually had this like cardinal cross that has been going on for a while, which is a very powerful symbol. Cardinal energy being initiating energy, energy of movement, of doing, of making something happen. So along with that opposition, the Sun is also opposing Saturn. Again, bringing in an emphasis of the energy during the time of the aforementioned Saturn and Pluto conjunction, which is helping to accelerate these ongoing processes of restriction, being locked down, told we have to conform to a certain so-called medical procedure if we want to get our freedoms back. All of this control, however, is adding to the tension to push back against this totalitarian regime that has been put in place to restrict our movements and try to take a tighter grip on the fundamental rights over our own sovereign body. The cry for freedom is going to become even stronger amongst those who are here to resist the hive mind mentality and the cyborg future they believe they have planned for us. As well as these oppositions, the Sun is also still in a trine with Neptune, retrograde, which has been exact on the 15th of July at 23 degrees and 6 minutes. And during this transition, or this transit, we have been asked to look at how we feel on a deep emotional level regarding our sense of inner trust. The Sun in Cancer at the time, connecting with Neptune, was bringing up a need for belonging, for soul, tribe and soul family, as well as looking at our own roots, our own origins, generational family lines and history. We may also have been feeling ultra sensitive, emotionally charged and easily triggered when it came to feeling left out on a limb and vulnerable, with a need to protect our heart from any more wounding and pain that could, with the Piscean energy, also be giving us a sense of victimhood. Like we have no say, everything just happens to us. At the time of the full moon, however, the Sun has moved into his home sign of Leo and is beginning to connect with his brave and courageous heart energy. He is starting to feel stronger and tapping into that inner strength. And now, interestingly, the feelings we experienced previously are going to start to be transmuted and transformed from the lead of Pluto into the gold of the Sun, as we ourselves learn to accept that these painful processes are where the true treasure of growth lies. So helping us with this process is the point of the dark side of the moon, known as the Black Moon Lilith, who has just left the sign of Taurus on the 18th of July. During the time of this full moon in Aquarius, this feminine shadow side of our emotions is making connections with both the sun in a sextile and the moon in a trine, as she is now at 0 degrees 38 minutes in Gemini, implying an easy release of our emotional expression, as Gemini is all about our need to communicate what we have learnt through and from our experiences to date, and what we think concerning the situations we find ourselves in at the time. Gemini is a dual sign. The twins give us the ability to see both sides of a story and to question the information and data we are given pertaining to that, in order for us to make a clear decision about where we personally stand on any and all issues. However, Black Moon Lilith is also at this time square with two of our other inner planets. I think that's I was burning some sage and some other stuff, and it's kind of making my nose go a bit weird, a bit thick in here. Mars at 26 degrees 23 minutes of Leo, as well as Venus at 02 degrees 30 in Virgo. So Black Moon Lilith is square with both Mars and Venus, our personal inner planets, and Black Moon Lilith is an energy of, best described as an inner rage, of a righteous rage, of wanting, similar to Eris in some ways, that kind of energy of wanting to put things right. She's a very dark energy. She is to do with all the kind of taboo subjects, the things that we don't want to look at, the things that we don't want to acknowledge even within our own psyche, our own makeup, the parts of ourselves that we'd rather kind of just push to the side and not see. So she is kind of that shadow energy, really, because she's a point of the moon as well. She is to do with our darker emotions. And so both Virgo and Gemini being Mercury ruled, Venus in Virgo being the perfectionist, she wants to get to the bottom of things. She is also looking to clear things up and clear things out, so she can also be overly critical and analytical. This could also bring out a fiery determination, as Mars and Venus are also conjunct in an out of sign conjunction. Meaning that Mars is in Leo and Venus is in Virgo, so they are again in another out of sign conjunction as well, meaning that there's the two energies are involved of the Leo and the Virgo. Mars in Leo is strong. He is our willpower and he wants action at this time. He is challenging Black Moon Lilith to make some noise and get passionate about what she is beginning to see come to the surface. So our deeper emotions, the darker side of things, if you like, the shadow energy of what we are experiencing as a collective around the world at this time, that is not necessarily being, how can I put it, being shown to us willingly. The information that we're needing to find for ourselves. So Black Moon Lilith has been in a long-lasting trine since the 21st of April, and she's still in that trine with Pluto, and they are very similar energies. They both work on a deeper subconscious level, because Pluto rules the underworld, so he is all about the undercurrents of things, of kind of digging deeper into, he drills down, Pluto, he drills down into the below the surface of things, and Black Moon Lilith, as I was saying, being the point of the moon, and the moon being our soul, our emotional body, also has that tendency to do the same thing. And Black Moon Lilith is those kind of buried emotional, like traumas and things that we don't necessarily even remember that we have at times. But because Black Moon Lilith and Pluto have been in this strong trine, it's like all of this is coming up to the surface on a collective historical generational level as well. And it's almost like it's kind of being put right in our face. It's like we can't ignore it anymore. We can't deny what is going on. And also, like, because of Pluto being in Capricorn. So Pluto in Capricorn has been digging down deeply into the structured, bound, stagnant energy of Capricorn, letting us know we have reached the end of the line. As Black Moon Lilith also represents a shadow nature, she and Pluto have a lot in common. So they're bringing this darkness, shall we say, up to the light for us to be able to see it, recognize it, work with it, work through it, really, is what we're being asked to do with this energy at the time. So we can become aware of how the world we live in and the structural systems in place are there to contain and manipulate us into submission. Also, I personally believe that there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out that is going to be, like, really, I put the word like abhorrent in this writing. I haven't actually said that, but I do feel as though there is going to be really abhorrent feelings here. Like, people are really going to be shocked and really kind of like not want to go there, not want to see it, but it's going to become so overwhelming that we're not going to be able to ignore this stuff. And so Black Moon Lilith, as she moves further into Gemini, she will meet up with the North Node exact on the 7th of September, which is a pretty interesting and exciting day, which you may want to add to your diary or calendar, as it is also the day of the new moon in Virgo, which will happen a few hours prior. So that's going to be quite a big energy day that day, with Black Moon Lilith and the North Node meeting up in Gemini, and the new moon happening in Virgo just before. So the other energy that Black Moon Lilith is connecting with here is another square, this time with a retrograde Jupiter at 0 degrees 27 in Pisces. While Mars the warrior and Venus the lover are also both in opposition with expansive energy, or with that expansive energy of Jupiter, which could have us feeling we know that we need to trust our inner world of knowing and allowing things to happen in divine timing, and yet some other part of ourselves is telling us we need to be prepared and strategize. So there's a kind of push-pull kind of energy, or a kind of like, how can I put it, like one part of us wants to just kind of accept and let go and have faith and trust in the process of what's happening, and yet there's another part of us that wants to kind of be very, very kind of prepared for it and to be very ready for what's coming. So it's like these two sides of this energy. So on one hand, we may feel that we can deal with whatever situation may arise, and yet again, that other side of us is saying, I'm not ready for this. So there's a part of us that's kind of feeling like that So the universe has got our back, so to speak, with it being in Pisces. It's like the universe knows what it's doing. We need to trust something that is bigger than we are. And then there's another part of us, is that kind of that logical side in a way, that's going, yeah, but what if this happens? Are you prepared for this? Do you have this ready? That kind of energy. So it's saying, you know, I need more time to understand, to reevaluate what it is I think I know compared to what it is I do factually know. Jupiter in Pisces could also bring up some issues around how much do we actually trust ourselves? Can we put trust in our own knowledge and wisdom? Can we have faith and belief that we are part of something much larger and much more eternal than our minds may be able to comprehend? So that is that kind of dichotomy, I suppose, that kind of like, you know, one part of us wants to, as I was saying, believe that there is more, something grander or greater, something bigger than us, and our logical mind wants to kind of take over and make sure that it's almost like, yes, but that's all well and good, but logically, are you ready? Do you know what you're doing? Do you trust yourself? So Jupiter is about to re-enter Aquarius, having propelled itself through that sign at a rapid rate from when it entered in December 2020 until it left on the 13th of May. Jupiter will, from the 28th of July, be going back to reassess. So it went into Aquarius in December 2020, and it left on the 13th of May in 2021. So it literally just zoomed through. And so from the 28th of July, Jupiter is going to be going back to reassess what it was that he has missed during that fast visit, as he once again takes a journey through the sign of the humanitarian water bearer, which means that whatever we were experiencing collectively and individually from the time that Jupiter entered his shadow on the 27th of March at 22 degrees 19 minutes until he retrograded on the 20th of June is about to be revisited. So everything from March to June is going to be re-looked at, re-evaluated, which is what all of these retrograde planets are doing at this time. But Jupiter is going to also be expanding on whatever it is that he's missed, whatever it was that we were experiencing. He will expand on it, he will look on it in greater detail, and of course he's going to shine his light on the truth of the human puzzle, like our belief systems, the true story of what is happening out there in the bigger scheme of things, the bigger, how it affects the collective, how our behaviour individually and collectively is going to have a bigger, wider effect, is basically what Jupiter is saying. And so he's kind of also saying, you know, that space journeys may be appealing, but it doesn't solve the reality of the problems for those living in poverty without clean water, for instance, in the 21st century. Jupiter will station direct on the 6th of October. However, he will not leave his shadow until the 9th of January 2022, when he will again return to 02 degrees 11 of Pisces. So while he's going back through Aquarius, he's going to be very much focused on those humanitarian type issues of beneficial outcome for all. Does it benefit all of us, or does it just benefit those who are already kind of benefiting from what they're doing in a way? Of course, Aquarius is that communal, community orientated energy, the grassroots energy. So dreamy, creative, mysterious retrograde Neptune is at 22 degrees 59 minutes in a beautiful, soft, inner reflective trine with Mercury at 21 degrees 47 minutes, during which time we may feel drawn to keep a lot of what we want to say from our heart within our own mind, or express it through creative artistic forms. So we may feel more creative rather than actually verbally wanting to express things. We may want to be more creative, like with art or dance or whatever we're kind of drawn to do. There may be a strong feeling of like not wanting to necessarily speak from our brain, from the logic, but express through different art forms, maybe writing or poetry. But this does feel like a time of choosing our words carefully and being very aware of how what we say can have long-term lasting effects. Mercury in Cancer is feeling into what is the best way to express exactly how we are feeling. And Neptune is encouraging us to trust that knowing inside ourselves, that whatever we feel we need to say is exactly what needs to be said for our own sanity. Again, though, we may want to express it in different ways rather than choosing words. Whether others agree or not, as Mercury has now taken over from the Sun as well, which is interesting. So Mercury is now opposing Pluto, which means that this is also literally a time of speaking truth to power, but we may also feel as though in Cancer that isn't going to be a wise thing to do, and that it's best again to kind of keep our voices more to ourselves on some level. As Cancer Cancer is always aiming for a safe and secure environment, but when that environment is being threatened, all crabs will defend their homes, their family and loved ones. And so on the 26th of July, this opposition with Mercury and Pluto is going to be exact. And so as much as we may want to speak truth to power, power may also want to speak back to us as well. So those with the power can also use that for their advantage, as words are weapons because of the powerful emotional effect that they have on us at a vibratory level. And this has been proven by Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did experiments with different words in water to see what effect it would have on the molecular structure. And this showed very startling and profound results. Water holds memories, and we are mostly made up of water, something those in positions of control and power are well aware of, and have been using words of fear, to bind us with for centuries. Neptune, the planet of mystery, magic, the occult, reincarnation, the hidden secrets behind the veil, is the keeper of those weaving spells. She is also helping us to understand and release ourselves from these false indoctrinations and the illusions we have been living under during this age of Pisces. As during this Aquarius full moon, she is sextile the planet of power, deep transformational, phoenix-like change. Pluto, being a malefic planet, always works through what appears to be adversity. And he is breaking apart and crumbling down long-standing entrenched beliefs and traditions that we have become so used to accepting as the normal way of life. So Neptune is that mysterious planet. There is a mystique about Neptune. We really don't know an awful lot about her because she's so far out beyond our solar system. Saturn being the last planet that we can see with our own eyes, he's kind of more the controller of our physical domain for that reason. And so Neptune is all about mystery and things that are kept hidden, things that are secret, things that have been kind of known about by certain factions of society, shall we say, for a long, long time, that have been used against the kind of populace for their own benefit. But it's almost like people are coming round to awakening to this fact as well. People are waking up to realise and understand that language in itself is power, and that it is used against us, and it's used against us as well in these very Saturnalian courts that have power over us, because we allow them in many ways to use the words that they use to instill the fear that they do. So going back to the water idea of it being something that affects us on a deeper emotional molecular level, it's kind of something that's been going on for many, many centuries, and it's also something that gets stored within the body as well, and that can also be something that is passed on generationally, which people are not necessarily aware of. But if you release a trauma from your past, you release it from previous generations and into future generations as well, which is a very interesting fact, because it's stored within the muscular and molecular levels of our body. So talking of long held entrenched beliefs and traditions, Saturn, the planet that helps to instill these in the first place, is in a supportive sextile with Chiron at 12 degrees 53 minutes in Aries. Chiron joined the list of outer retrograde planets on the 15th of July. As he then stationed retrograde, he too will be going back over the same ground of Aries from 12 degrees 55 minutes to 08 degrees 26 minutes. And that's going to last up until the 19th of December. So Chiron entered his shadow period of 8 degrees and 26 on the 22nd of March. So once again, everything that has been going on healing-wise on a deeper level for those who have been experiencing past traumas, working through family issues, clearing out generational history. And again, we're kind of seeing that all over the planet as well, with people kind of pulling down all these statues and like the uprisings that have kind of caused a lot of past history in a way to be brought back up to the surface, to be cleared out. A lot of that is to do with this Chiron energy. So from March the 22nd, everything that we've experienced on that deeper level is going to be re-evaluated right up until December, because Chiron won't come out of his retrograde until December. So he too is going to be taking a deeper dive into that healing that needs to take place on a collective level as well. And at the time he stationed, Chiron was already in this sextile with Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, which is seen as being the father energy of the zodiac. And Aries, where Chiron is the masculine warrior, again the Mars energy, inner drive and dynamic force for active doing. All of this is very masculine energy. So both the father Capricorn energy is all very masculine, and the Mars energy is very masculine. And that is what Chiron is healing within us all. It's not just men who have masculine energy, it's an energy that is within all of us. Some of us have more, some of us have less, vice versa. It's kind of like some men have a lot more femininity, some women have a lot more masculinity. But this whole kind of Chiron energy moving through the Mars ruled sign of Aries is also where we're getting this term of toxic masculinity coming up from as well. And if we look back throughout our history, we can see there has been an imbalance of masculine war-driven, might is right kind of dictatorship and brutal savagery that is needing to be healed within all of us, male or female. It still needs to be healed because we all have fathers, we've all had that generational input of that masculine energy. Again, some more than others. Particularly, I think on some level as well, if you've been more of a single mother family, I think there has on most levels been less of that masculine toxic energy, which can be good. It can also work adversely, so it's kind of needing that balance. But it has kind of been epitomised by that father figure who was normally the one to dish out punishment when it came to our childhoods. But that's not to say that there hasn't been equally imbalanced female energy, as many times behind the scenes there is also a strong woman who has pushed and encouraged that masculine toxicity for their own benefit. But however, the patriarchal system, that is Saturn in many ways, is being recognised for the damage it has done over the centuries, which is going to take a lot of inner and outer healing, acceptance and forgiveness. That what has already happened historically may have on some karmic level of interconnectedness involved all of our generational past, regardless of who we were then. Our ethnicity, gender or status is not who we are now. So generationally as well, for those who believe in reincarnation, it will kind of be the idea that we help to create that energy, that we have been there at some point in that past history, that we were part of that toxic masculinity, if you like. So in that sense we all have some kind of toxic cross to bear, shall we say, for want of a better expression. But for those who don't believe so much in reincarnation, and this is also kind of for those who do as well, that generationally it does get passed on, it does get stored, it does, as I was saying, it gets passed on from generation to generation. So but it's not who we are now, is kind of what I'm trying to say here, is that, you know, that was that energy back then. You can't kind of blame the history for where we are now and kind of expect to get what's the word I'm looking for here, expect to get not reward, but kind of recompense, if you like, for the fact that generationally way down the line something may have happened to one of your ancestors that now you feel you have to get some kind of feedback from, because that was then. You know, our history has changed. We are not the same people, or our history like even isn't the same. The energy that we're living in now isn't the same. Everything has changed. You can't kind of carry that through and still continue to blame people for it, I feel, is really the issue here. And this is what is being asked of us. This Chiron energy is asking us to heal these wounds, to allow this healing to take place, because if we don't allow the healing to take place, we will continue bringing that same energy into the future. And it's not the future that we want to keep repeating. So this connection between these two energies is going to become exact on the 27th of November, so there's a while to go yet. And due to the retrograde motion of them both, they will be travelling together in the sky right through until January the 7th, 2022. And so there is a lot of individual and collective healing to be resolved during this period of time. And as I've already mentioned, the connection with this full moon, Saturn and Pluto, and the echoing from the January 2020 conjunction between the two. However, at this time we also have another echoing energy being reactivated, which is that of the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction that took place on the 21st of December 2020, when Saturn and Jupiter met up in Aquarius, an air sign, instead of the earth signs, for the first time, more or less, in 200 years. There was one time when they met up in air signs, but for mostly in that 200 years, they met up in earth signs alone. And what that kind of actually meant was that because Saturn is the last planet, he is the dense, controlling energy, if you like, of our reality, that meeting up in earth signs meant that everything became a lot more solid, a lot more solidified, a lot more almost like concrete. Everything was written in stone. People kind of came to the belief that things were never going to be any different. And I think that's one of the big things that we've been living through for a while now, is that people just go, oh, well, that's how it is. It's never going to change. It's never going to be any different. Whereas this meeting now with Aquarius and Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius is that change. Because for the next 200 years, they are going to meet up every 20 years in the sign of air signs. Whether that be Gemini, Libra or Aquarius, they will be meeting up within air signs, which means that it's going to make things lighter. There's going to be bring in this kind of lighter energy, where things are not going to be so dense anymore, where we're actually going to kind of begin to see that that dense energy, where we believe everything to be solid, is not actually true, because everything is vibrating. Everything is like everything around us, even though it appears to be solid, there is this vibrational frequency that everything on this planet has, and everything vibrates at different levels of vibration, including ourselves as well. So this conjunction of the two mighty gas giants, which took place at 0 degrees 28 minutes, which is more or less a degree away from where this full moon energy is happening. So this full moon is more or less right bang on top of that same conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, which is really bringing in that Aquarian energy even stronger, moving us even more into the future, into that Aquarian energy. and reactivating that energy, that connection, that conjunction at that time, which is that huge change of, as I was saying, out of that denseness into this more kind of like higher conscious awareness. So again, you may want to check out that point of where that point falls for you, that 0 degrees 28, but it's going to be kind of more or less at the same degree point of where this full moon is taking place as well. But it will be adding an extra emphasis to this awakening new earth that is in the process of being created, as the old empires of rulers and dynasties collapses due to their own actions, and transforms into a new era based on humanitarian values. Those still living in the energy of what is no longer viable or acceptable will find it more and more difficult to belong in a world that no longer fits their vibrational frequency, because all the frequencies are changing. As frequency is going to become the key to unlocking the door of this future, as Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, governs the realm of manifestation and the higher conscious mind. It is already very discernible within certain dividing factions on the planet that there are those who no longer wish to coexist with others if they have a different viewpoint or opinion. Again, the hive mind thinking that we must all be assimilated. That is the crazy thing about Aquarian energy. It is asking us to become our true, integral, authentic selves, the individual self that is unique and different to everyone and anyone else on the planet, just like twins are never fully identical. And that is more the Uranus energy, because Saturn also rules Aquarius. So there is that two kind of different, very different Aquarians as well. You can meet Aquarians and one will be completely more out there, more Uranus energy, and the other one will be much more kind of solid and grounded and much more traditional thinking, and have a lot more of that Saturn type energy about them. And so at the same time, Aquarius and the Uranus energy as well reminds us that we are a unified whole collective consciousness, and that like ripples on an ocean, our actions or non-actions will always have consequences, as we are all here to experience a human life, and we are source energy of all that is, all that has ever been, and all that is yet to come. So everything that is kind of being created, everything that is coming into being, into manifestation, is what we are at every second, every moment of our lifetime. So as shown in the symbol of the water bearer, who is shown pouring water or consciousness out of a vessel, we all arrive here through the water of life. We all share the same molecular structures. And helping us to bring this birth of awareness into our reality is the very beautiful vibration of the spiritual midwife, Clarico, who at this important turning point of our story is sitting at precisely 01 degrees and 40 minutes, holding the healing space for all that needs to take place. And Clarico is the wife of Chiron, so she is also there in that Aquarian energy, as Chiron is sextile to Saturn at this time. Clarico is also in that Aquarian energy, and she will also be moving forward, bringing that whole healing space into being at this time as well. So the two are kind of working together on that Saturn type energy in a way. So she is at this time telling us that amongst all the chaos we are experiencing in our lives right now, it is all as it is meant to be. We just need to breathe and trust the process, both individually and collectively, and let it unfold around us as we are being reborn into a world we have never experienced. So the Sabian symbol for the 0-1 degrees of Aquarius is phase 301, Aquarius 1 degree, an old Adobe mission in California. And the keynote is the power inherent in all great human works to endure far beyond the worker's lifespan. So all the things that we are capable of creating can outlive our lives. The works and spirit of the Spanish priests who directed the building of the California missions have had a lasting influence on the development of this land. These remain as a monument to the men who were able to make their mark upon this alien environment. While the zodiacal sign Capricorn begins with a symbol of socio-political power, Aquarius at its start presents a more spiritualized and idealistic or creative picture of the social forces at work. Moreover, it stresses the enduring character of human achievements ensouled by a great vision, at least within the frame of reference of our Western civilization. The symbol speaks of the projection of a noble ideal into concrete forms of beauty and significance, thus of the radiation of a civilizing power into an institution, offering to primitive men and women the opportunity to reach a higher, more organized and productive level of activity. So this is the first stage in the 61st fivefold sequence. It speaks to us of the concretization of an ideal. This implies the immortalization of an individual within a great collective and cultural enterprise. So it's about bringing that bigger vision down into the physical world. So I was talking about that Saturn energy that is helping us to ground it into our reality, bringing that Aquarian energy down through the Saturn building structural idea. So the 0 degree of Leo is phase 121, and it is blood rushes to a man's head as his vital energies are mobilized under the spur of ambition. And the keynote is an eruption of biopsychic energies into the ego-controlled field of consciousness. Now I had to look this up because eruption is the opposite of an eruption. So an eruption isn't force going outwardly, whereas an eruption is a force going inwardly. So the occult tradition speaks of 3 kinds of fire: electric fire, solar fire, and fire by friction. The 3 fires, signs of the zodiac, correspond to these. Aries refers to the descent of the spiritual energy of the creative world. In its material aspect, we know this energy as electricity. And without electric energy, no life process could exist. Leo represents solar fire, the energy which is released from an integrated person, either through spontaneous radiations of apparently nuclear forms of energy, or at the truly human and conscious level, and also superhuman in more transcendent realms, through conscious emanations, or emanations, from manas, meaning mind in Sanskrit. Sagittarius is related to the fire by friction because all social processes are based on interpersonal relations which imply polarization and often conflict. The key symbol for Leo depicts a rising of energy from the heart to the head, a mentalization process. However, this process is a potentially dangerous one, thus the original wording of the symbolic scene by the clairvoyant referred to a case of apoplexy. plexi. Just as a person standing with their head uncovered for a long time in tropical regions could get sunstroke, the sun can destroy as well as vivify. Without its symbolic mate, water, it produces deserts on earth. The realization of Atman, the spiritual self, the existence of a formed and steady ego, provided the ego can become a lens of pure crystal, focusing the all-pervasive cosmic light of the Brahman without introducing the shadows of pride, possessiveness and showmanship. But this provided raises a very large question. The transmutation of life into mind is a difficult process. So I would also say that birth in itself is a difficult process. So this is the first stage of the 25th fivefold sequence of symbols, which opens the 9th scene. The keynote of combustion for the entire series of 15 phases hardly needs interpretation. In a general sense, the key word for this first degree of the sign Leo could be conflagration, the energies of the biological drives as they erupt more or less forcefully into the field of consciousness. So it's kind of speaking to me about that awareness kind of coming into our psyche, into our awareness. As I was saying, I think back there about our kind of becoming aware of that self-consciousness or self-awareness within us. So I'm going to quickly pull some of these reflection cards, which I really like, and see what they would like to say to us at this time for this Aquarius full moon energy. Messages for the collective for this full moon in Aquarius energy, please, source. Any messages that you would like to give to us at this time? Any messages for the full moon collective Aquarius energy at this time? Messages for the full moon Aquarius energy at this time. It doesn't want to tell us any more than it already is. Okay. Right, okay, I'm going to pull one from the top, one from the bottom, and one from the centre, and see what they say. What do we have? We have, it is time to realise and fully acknowledge that you yourselves are God, Source, Universe, creative energy, and that the energy of your soul is a synthesis of what you can call the God Source. Which is kind of what we've just been talking about. Fear has always been your greatest enemy, and yet fear has helped you because through your fears you have journeyed far. Again, we have been talking about that fearful energy that has helped to control us. And there is one thing to do. There is no one thing to do. There is no single Messiah to follow. There is only you and your light. Very Aquarian message. I'm going to just very quickly, because I was reminded about this, I've had this kind of book flip book thing for a long time, and it's been stuck in a drawer and I've not really taken any notice of it for a long time, and earlier on it kind of came into my head and I just thought, right, okay, I'm going to use it today. So I'm just going to give it a quick flick and see where it stops. And what does it say? It says, just for today, everything I encounter teaches me something I need to know. So that's the message for today, that everything basically is a lesson to learn something from. And that is where I'm going to leave this reading and say I really hope that you have liked it, and if you have liked it, please could you show that you've liked it by thumbsing it up for me, because it really does help to grow my channel, which is what I'm really trying to do still. I have got 149 subscribers. My number went down to 148 and then it came back up to 149, but I still haven't reached that 150 mark, so I'm still waiting for that to happen. And I will do like a celebratory video for that when that happens, so that I can share that with you. As well, if you have subscribed to my channel, so whoever the 149th person was who subscribed to my channel, thank you very much. I do really appreciate that. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, please could you do that again. It's going to help me to grow my channel, help to get it out into the bigger, broader YouTube world. Also comment as well, because that also helps the algorithms to pick it up and to see that people are taking notice of the channel and that they are interested in what is happening on that particular channel. It all makes a huge difference, even though it may not seem like very much. It truly is. And so thank you to those of you who have shared my videos as well. I really do appreciate that. As you know by now, I do all the new moon and the full moon tarot and astrology for both of them, and I do all the sun signs as well. Again, I've not managed to get round to doing much of them because I have had other things that I've had to do recently that have kind of pulled me away from being able to do my videos, but I'm hoping to get back round to doing them again. So yeah, don't want to go into details on that, but yeah, I have had things that I've had to kind of be elsewhere for. Anyway, thank you again. I hope that this Aquarius full moon astrology reading has been of some help or some guidance or made some sense to you, and I hope that you do have a wonderful Aquarius full moon experience. It lasts for 2 weeks, so it's still an ongoing process, and hopefully I will see you next time at the time of my full moon read, if I don't see you before then at any of my zodiac signs.